So I know you have distilled your ethos into 7 principles, and we
Mm.
probably don't have time to hit all of them, but give us a couple of them.
Well, I could just recite them. I mean, the first one actually is nix the competition. There's no need
Hmm.
for competition. Doesn't matter if you're the front of the line, the back of the line, middle. We're all going to get to the same place. No
Hmm.
judgment um, is something that's really important. It doesn't say much about them as it does about you if you judge a person.
Hmm.
Walk with integrity, which is very important in this life and on the trail. Start with effort, finish by grace. And when I plan these trips, I make all the efforts. I dot all my I's, I cross all my T's, and then I have to ask for grace. I have to ask for
Yeah.
the good weather. I have to ask for the plane schedule to be on time. No long layovers. Everybody makes their flights. Um, Mark your words. I have 7 words that I say every day. Clarity, consciousness, equilibrium, effort, grace, intention, integrity, and love. And
Mm.
love rains down and makes me calm.
Mm.
Love, honor, and obey your intuition. And the last one, and the most important thing that you do very well on your platform, is embrace your community.
Mm.
That's going to
Okay.
lead you to a nice, healthy life.
Hello, my extraordinary women friends. As someone who has trekked through the rugged landscapes of Tibet and explored the remote wilderness of Patagonia, I have a deep love for adventure travel. It's a journey that stirs the soul and awakens the spirit. My adventures around the world have shaped me into the woman I am today for sure. So today I am thrilled to introduce you to someone who embodies the spirit of adventure and personal growth, Erin Leider-Pariser. Erin is a wellness expert and the founder of Sports Travel Adventure Therapy. With over 50 trips across all 7 continents, she has facilitated life-changing experiences for more than 500 women. Her book not only recounts these adventures, but also shares her 7 principles for trekking life with grace, golden rules that guide women toward their best selves. Complete with practical advice for forming your own group travel adventures, regardless of budget, Erin's work invites women to ignite their adventurous spirits, whether that means traveling to distant lands or taking bold new steps toward their dreams. So buckle up as we explore the transformative power of adventure with Erin. Let's dive in and discover how we can all trek life with a bit more grace and gusto. Well, welcome to Extraordinary Women Radio, Erin. It is excellent to have you here today. I'm really excited to have your stories and to share the work that you're doing. It's really fun. So, welcome.
Thank you. I'm really happy to be here. I'm happy that you are getting lost with me.
Yeah, me too. It's one of the things I've always loved adventure travel myself. I've been to places like Tibet and Patagonia and
Oh,
fun
perfect.
places in the world like that. So when I saw the work that you've been doing, I saw your new book, I saw the trips you're leading around the world on all 7 continents. I was just really excited to have a conversation with you and dive in.
Thank
So,
you.
yeah, I'd love to hear the story of how you landed in the world of leading adventure travel trips. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Of course. Well, it was a series of life events that
Isn't that the truth?
it was really like I'm really like a cheerleader kid from Miami Beach, and I'm still cheerleading, believe it or not.
Yeah,
But I'm empowering women, and that's my cheerleading. Um,
yeah.
so I came from Miami Beach via New York City via a stint in LA, training at the Jane Fonda exercise studio at the height of the exercise craze. I'm not sure if you remember
Wow.
that.
Oh, I do remember
Um,
that very
um,
well.
yeah, yeah. And lots of people were getting injured as weekend warriors. And so I was an exercise physiologist, and I started by working in a very big studio in New York City, teaching exercise classes, sort of based on the Jane Fonda method, but making it my own.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
um, and then I decided that I would go back to school and really understand what makes the body tick. So I went and got a master's degree in exercise physiology. And I got, you know, at that time also another craze was private exercise teachers coming into your home.
Mm-hmm.
It was a luxury at the time for people that are working, people that had little kids at home, people that couldn't get to the gym. So I had my little clientele. It was actually a pretty good clientele. Lots of really well-known people in New York City. And then in the middle of it all, I got married, had a couple kids, and then my life took an unexpected turn and I moved out of the city. So I had to reevaluate my career as a commuter trainer. And that's when I decided to take it on the road. As I was searching for purpose in my own life, I approached one of my best clients, and she was game for me to organize an active journey together where we would invite friends, like she would invite friends, I would invite friends. And it just was an organic process
Where
of,
was the first place that you went?
we went to Wyoming.
Oh, wow.
We went to Wyoming because, it was like a 4-day stint, like you really
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't go too many places. This was 30
Mm-hmm.
years ago. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then the next trip we did Sedona, which at
Mm-hmm.
that time was a new age, you
So was
know,
Wyoming with horses and backcountry kind of thing?
well, it was in the Tetons. It was more
It was in the
hiking.
Tetons. Yep. Okay,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
hiking. Okay,
yeah,
excellent. Excellent.
yeah.
And then you went to Sedona,
So
kind of
then we went to
the
Sedona.
center.
Yeah. And I decided that that's where I would get my modalities. I was like, we did sweat lodge ceremonies. We did really a lot of spiritual work there. Um, then I got a Native American person to teach me how to do a talking stick ceremony, which I
Mm-hmm.
do on all my trips to bond the women
I've got
together.
a talking stick right back here behind me.
How you do? I love it. I love it. So I incorporated that into my trips going forward because I really wanted women to bond. And I really wanted them to manifest what they're dreaming about in life. And there's something about manifesting something and saying it out loud that makes it a reality, that makes it a
Mm-hmm.
truth.
Mm-hmm.
And sharing it with other like-minded women really just bonds the group together. It
Yeah.
really does. That's what
Yeah.
separates my trips from, say, a backroads trip or a Butterfield and Robinson trip, although they're fantastic,
Right.
outfitters.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you work primarily with women,
I
and
do. It
taking,
it became a niche, and
yeah.
30 years ago, it was really something. I mean, it was
Yeah, you're
different.
right. 30 years ago there wasn't people doing that. So that's
No,
really,
today, yes,
mm-hmm.
it's
Yeah.
definitely a thing. Women love to travel together.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So as you started, as this continued to evolve, how did the business take shape and form and, really evolve for you? I mean, let's talk a little bit about the business building of it.
Absolutely. Well, on that Sedona trip, believe it or not, one of my clients brought a friend, and this friend was an entrepreneur. And she actually watched me during the 4 or 5 days that we were in Sedona, and she saw what I could do. And she saw the camaraderie. And when we got home from that trip, she called me and she said, "You have a new career, and
Mm.
I'm going to make this happen for you." And I had two little kids. I had an 8-year-old and a 4-year-old. I'm like, what? I can't go traveling around the world. Well, I mean, I'm a mother. Um, but I can. So she was really instrumental. And I don't even think she knew at the time I was writing this book how much influence she had in my life.
Hmm.
So I,
Sometimes it takes that visionary person to be able to help us see things bigger than we can see for
oh
ourselves.
my God, she was amazing. She took me under her wing. She gave me at that time you had to print brochures. There was no internet. Let me just
Right.
tell you, there's no internet. So she gave me her printing business to help me print my brochures out. And she called me every day like a just a mentor. And she
Mm,
said, "This is what you're going to do." And I did. And I used her printer and I used her expertise, and she helped me launch it. And we thought about the name together. She even helped me figure out the name. The name is Sports Travel Adventure Therapy,
hmm.
which is an
Hmm.
acronym for STAT. And it's just
Hmm.
everything we do on a trip.
Yeah. 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 So, and I love that you're intertwining the adventure and really that evolution, that growth that we can go through. And I mean, I can personally go through. I mean, I can go back to my trip, like when I was in Tibet, what breakthroughs I had in my life
Mm,
that really helped me see life through a different lens.
mm-hmm,
Um, and I wrote about that in my book. It's like finding a little seashell on the top of a mountain, like a 16,000-foot mountain, digging in the dirt, and I found a little seashell, and it just really became this touchstone in my life that I've come back to time and time again. And it was about the
mm-hmm,
spiral journey and the evolution that we
mm-hmm,
go on. But I was in a really important part of my, the transformation that I was going through in my life. I was
mm-hmm,
still in the corporate world when I found that. And
mm-hmm.
that was, gosh, that was 20 years ago.
Yeah, but
So
there's no accidents.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
we
And so
get clues along the way in our life,
yeah,
and
exactly.
we need to like pay attention to the clues
Yeah, yeah, so true. So you've been on all 7 continents at this point. Um,
at this
that's
point.
quite an achievement. That's really an achievement.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's I've been on the road a long time, and I'm just coming down. I tell you, this book was really a COVID project for me because I was
Mhm,
grounded. I was grounded like
mhm,
everybody else.
right.
I had no trips to plan, and I had a lot of time on my hands, and I had a lot of gratitude for where I've been.
Mhm,
You know,
mhm,
so I took stock, and then I got hurt, by the way, right before COVID. um, I hurt my leg skiing, so I was laid up for 8 weeks. So that, coupled with COVID, I'm like, all right, I'm going to write a book.
You're gonna write a book, and so that's where that all came to be.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So what advice would you give someone who's wanting to lead trips around the world, and into far beyond places? What advice would you give people?
Well, get yourself some good guides.
Mhm,
um, and really do your research,
mhm,
because it's a big world out there now. When I first started, of course, I told you we didn't have internet, so I had to go physically to these places and
first.
check them
Mhm,
out and meet my
mhm,
guides and see where we're going to stay, and really get into the land. But nowadays you
mhm.
can do everything online. You can
Yeah.
meet the greatest people online. So my
Mhm.
advice for you is just, do your research,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
there's so many options.
What about filling the retreats that you've done? What advice would you give them there?
You mean filling with people,
Putting
putting it
the
together?
bringing people in to go with you.
Well, that is probably the hardest part of my
Yeah,
job,
totally.
is actually
Mhm.
getting the chemistry right of the people that
Mhm.
join me.
Uh-huh.
So, it's an interview process that I have when you want to travel with
So
me.
they have to apply.
They do, yeah. And
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
you have to be like 5 degrees of a separation from somebody that knows me. You know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you could be a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend, or cousin, and I don't really, and if I do take a cold call, which is really rare, um, we have lots of conversations,
Yeah. Because
because
you've got to have the right people in that circle, in that community
you
to
really
really.
do. I had a
Mhm.
situation, I've learned a lot. One of my principles is listen to your intuition.
Mhm.
And as women, I think that we have an extraordinary intuition, and we don't use it enough.
Right.
Um, so I had a trip to Santa Fe many, many years ago, and I didn't get the chemistry right. I really didn't. And we checked into our little lodge outside of Santa Fe. We dropped our bags. This is after a couple of days together in Bandelier National Park. And we dropped our bags in the lodge, and we went out for dinner. And when we came back, all of our rooms had been ransacked. And they took like whatever they could take, like at that time, cameras and watches and, phones, whatever. But I blame that on my inability to get the chemistry right on that trip. There were too
Mm.
many big personalities there, and something had to give. And the universe, or God, or whatever you call the higher power, said, you know what? This is not going to work. and I'm going to
Yeah.
show you, you know. And I sat there and I said, why did this happen? Did I not give the guy a big enough tip when we checked in? You blame yourself
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and you go through all the reasons why this could possibly happen. And it was really about the chemistry of the group. So that's the most important thing. And to really pick people that you want to travel with, you know,
Right.
gather your tribe, gather your, you know, the biggest thing I'd like this book to do is encourage your listeners to travel with their tribe, you
Mm-hmm.
know, embrace your
Yeah.
tribe and go on the road, get lost,
Mm-hmm.
you
I
know,
love that.
and have
So love
meaningful
that.
conversations.
Yeah. So what happens when we're really exploring the wilds and in nature? I mean, how's that transformation come about? I know how it has come about for me, but just as you've experienced this with so many people, what have you noticed?
Well, people open up so much when you're out in nature. I
Mm-hmm.
mean,
Yeah.
nature transforms an individual from the sheer beauty and the
Totally.
stillness.
Yep.
It's pretty much the highest of power. I
It
know when
is
I go,
totally.
you know, I mean, I think you live in Colorado, did I?
I live in Colorado and I do retreats
Okay,
with my horses in
right,
the foothills of Colorado, out in
right,
nature, right? So
right.
I'm big on getting my clients out in nature.
Yeah. Half the time I spend in Colorado. That's funny. Um,
Yeah.
so I'm always outside. I mean, I mean, it makes me, even when I wake up, maybe I'm not feeling great. If I just go out for a hike, I feel so much better. And I
Yeah.
just listen to the stillness. And I think it's just nature that transforms an individual. And then when you're with people for a week together in nature, it it's magical.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
brings like true honesty and bonding.
Yeah. I just got back from Santa Fe just a few days
Oh,
ago, and I was there with a group of 9 women,
mm,
and it was part of a community that I belong to, an incubator group that I belong to. And we spent a lot of time in nature. And it's such a way to, I mean, we would do a lot of work that we were doing in strategy in a conference room, but then we'd
mm-hmm,
have time in nature. And I think there's a way that we can really integrate our what we're learning, and also the like really listening to our inner wisdom. It
mm-hmm.
starts to open up that space for us to be able to bring the two pieces together.
Especially after the ceremony that I do with everybody on the second night.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody brings something to tie on the talking stick about what they're manifesting in life.
Mm.
And some, you know, it brings a lot of tears
Mm-hmm.
and it brings a lot of, you know, clarity.
Yeah, totally.
And then we
Totally.
talk about it. And then we talk
Yeah,
about it on the trail. We talk about it for the rest of the trip.
that's
Yeah.
awesome. That's so
Yeah.
good. I love it. I totally love it. So what can you share a story of just big transformation that took
Oh my
place on one
God.
of your trips?
I would love that. Actually, I can actually just read you in her own words. Would that be
Okay.
okay?
Okay.
Um, this is a client of mine. Her name is Julie. Um, she experienced a deeply personal kind of success during a trip along the ancient Camino Trail, a
Mm.
pilgrimage. Yep.
Yep. Yep. I
We
have a
ha-
client that led a group over there.
yep. We hiked the Portuguese Camino, where we joined walkers, hikers, even horseback riders, heading north along the Atlantic coast, just like Queen Isabel did in the 1300s. This particular walk through terraced fields, lush forest, plenty of vineyards, and peaceful villages represented everything Stad is about. A sacred bonding journey, walking for nearly 14 miles together all day, every day, was the ultimate bonding experience. We shared our stories while still taking time alone to reflect on ourselves. So this client came with a heart full of hope for her son, who would soon be released from prison.
Mm.
He suffered from addiction since his teen years after he was prescribed painkillers after getting his wisdom teeth removed. Percocet led to Oxy, which then led to heroin. A painful, familiar story we've all heard and seen. The worst of it all was having to have your son arrested for stealing and then have to testify against him in court. After 3.5 years in prison, he began to heal. And then her mom died. So she came on the trip to heal, gather her strength, and become grounded with women she hoped would be along the same spiritual path. At the end of the world, as they call it in Finisterre, she sprinkled her mother's ashes and prayed for her son to come back clean and sober, while also sending healing vibes to a friend suffering from cancer. And it all came to fruition. She claims they were her miracle. And I just love that story of her miracle
Yeah.
and successes. And there's room for everyone in this world
Yeah.
for winners.
Yeah, what a beautiful story. And I think when we pause like that and really open up to the possibilities, so much
Mm-hmm.
can unfold. So I love that so much.
I mean, she
Uh,
came on that trip to heal, and it's just beautiful.
yeah, totally. Uh, and you probably have run into some crazy things over the years too. It's like, going to different foreign countries around the world. What's the most unique scenario that's unfolded for you?
Well, probably the most unique one was when we were in Colombia.
Yeah.
I took a group to Colombia, and we were hiking this law. It's called the Lost Trail. There you
Hmm.
go. That's why my
Hmm.
book is called Get Lost. Um, and in Colombia, it doesn't just rain; it pours,
Hmm.
torrential downpours. This is one of the things I can't control on a trip is the weather.
Right. You can't.
And so I just,
You got to roll with it. It's
I had
even
to,
with my equine vision journey retreats that I
yep,
do. I always say the weather's going to be what it is, and it's just part of the
yep.
experience and the learning and what we're uncovering.
Yeah, we have rain gear. I tell everyone,
Yeah,
bring your rain gear.
yeah,
If
yeah,
and if we don't use it, that's wonderful.
yeah,
But truth is, we use it.
yeah.
So anyway, we were hiking, and all of a sudden, we was pouring, and then the flash floods started coming down the trail, and my fast hiker was up ahead of us, and she got across the river with help from the guides. But by the time we got there, it was so high we couldn't go across. We
Right.
had to sit there and wait for 3.5 hours to cross the river. And my fast hiker was already across the river, and I'm nervous. I mean, she's all alone. But I have to tell you, she was a trooper. She got into some village. She, smiled at them with the universal language. They didn't
Hmm.
speak Spanish. She didn't speak Spanish, but she smiled and waited for us for 3.5 hours
Yeah,
to get
and she
across
had
that
stories to
river.
share.
And
She had
she had
stories to
stories.
share for the rest of her life because
Yep,
those are some of my favorite stories. Is when we run into language barriers and how we find ways to communicate
yep,
and the ways
yep.
that we can connect with people at a heart level. Um,
Not to
when
mention that I was a nervous wreck,
yes,
thinking
exactly.
thinking about her. I mean, she's my
Yeah,
responsibility. I'm like, oh no.
yeah. And the good news is everybody was safe.
Yes, everybody was safe. I mean, and it's a story in retrospect, of course.
Yeah,
I had another
yeah.
story like that in Cambodia where two of the girls were lagging behind and didn't make it to the lunch spot. And I had to get somebody with a walkie talkie to find them. And so for an hour, I was, you know, a little anxious over there too. But, it
Yeah.
makes for a good story.
Yeah, totally. Well, and it's experiences. I mean, I think anytime we are traveling, we are into different places. We're opening ourselves up into adventures and different experiences and new ways to connect with people, and that can be really a beautiful gift. I mean, I think some of my favorite travel stories have been, like talking to a monk who didn't speak a word of English, but
Mm,
understanding the stories that he was sharing with us, right? So finding these ways that we can just connect it with other humans around the world, taking the language out is such a beautiful gift.
I love that. Yeah,
Yeah,
wonderful.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
it's always wonderful in retrospect. All the bad shit that happens, it's better in retrospect.
yeah. So I know you have distilled your ethos into 7 principles, and we
Mm.
probably don't have time to hit all of them, but give us a couple of them.
Well, I could just recite them. I mean, the first one actually is nix the competition. There's no
Mm-hmm.
need for competition. Doesn't matter to the front of the line, the back of the line, middle. We're all going to get to the same place. No
Mm-hmm.
judgment um, is something that's really important. It doesn't say much about them as it does about you if you judge a person.
Mm-hmm.
Walk with integrity, which is very important in this life and on the trail. Start with effort, finish by grace. And when I plan these trips, I make all the efforts. I dot all my I's, I cross all my T's, and then I have to ask for grace. I have to ask for
Yeah.
the good weather. I have to ask for the plane schedule to be on time. No long layovers. Everybody makes their flights. Um, Mark your words. I have 7 words that I say every day, clarity, consciousness, equilibrium, effort, grace, intention, integrity, and love. And
Mm.
love rains down and makes me calm.
Mm.
Love, honor, and obey your intuition. And the last one, and the most important thing that you do very well on your platform, is embrace your community.
Mm.
That's going to
Yeah.
lead you to a nice, healthy life.
Yeah. Those are beautiful. Those are really, really beautiful. So tell us a bit about your book.
So that's the wisdom that I've gathered over the 30 years of traveling with wild and crazy women.
Mm-hmm.
So this book is really a love letter. It's a love letter to all the women who have journeyed with me, and every woman or man exploring the world near and far. Um, and it convinces me that taking part in a travel circle of your own will kindle a new dimension of friendship, courtesy of Mother Nature. So I hope this book, my book, Get Lost, will inspire your listeners to ignite that adventurous spirit and take bold new steps towards their future.
I
I
love
mean,
that.
that's
So,
like, that's written in my book. Like, it's really like
yeah.
a love letter to
Yeah.
everyone.
It's beautiful. It's totally beautiful. So where can people learn more about you, your work?
I have a website.
Mm-hmm.
It's www.stattrip, STATTRIP.com.
Mm-hmm.
I am on Instagram, Facebook, StatTrip,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm on LinkedIn as well. And I just recorded my book in my own voice. I actually had an audition to record my own book.
Oh, wow. That's
Yes,
funny.
yes. They
You had
bought it and,
to,
and they said, we'll get somebody else to read it.
you're like,
So
no,
I said, no, I
no.
want to read my own book. And they said, well, all right,
Exactly.
send us 2 chapters and we'll decide.
Oh,
So
goodness. Yeah.
they,
But you got to.
but I got to. So if you want to spend
Yes.
6.5 hours with me, listen to it on audio.
There you go. I love that. That's awesome. The final question I always close with are, what are 3 pearls of wisdom? And I know you've given us a lot of wisdom already, but what are 3 pearls of wisdom you'd like to leave with us today?
Okay. Well, besides my 7 principles, I would say the first pearl of wisdom would be to not I'd like to say that it's not where you are, but where you've been. There's something
Mm-hmm.
about looking back in order to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what this book is about. And I think that everybody should look back and celebrate all your wins.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's just easier to move forward. Number 2 would be get lost more and take it on the road.
Yes.
Start
Yes.
your own stat trip with your own tribe and have meaningful conversations, and create a version of my ceremony with your own tribe. And the last one, the third one, and I think I mentioned it, is listen to the universe and what it has to say to you, because it's very subtle sometimes. But there's no accidents in life. There's no coincidences, just synchronicities.
So good.
Yeah.
Erin, it's been so fun having you here today. Thank you so much for joining me and sharing
Mm.
your stories. I think you're doing beautiful things in the world.
Thanks, Cami. You are too.
Oh, thank you.